Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. So today I'm going to be giving you 5 excuses that we often find ourselves making in agility and ways to stop making them once and for all. I've done a similar episode before, but only on one of these excuses. So now I'm giving you 5 fresh ones that are completely new, that I hear a lot and I've also said in the past as well. And just how to stop making them, as we get nearer the end of the year and start thinking about the goals that we want to achieve in agility during 2025, I think it's super important that we get over this excuse mentality, where we where we just make excuses for ourselves and our dogs and our training or lack of, or do you get what I mean? So that is what today is going to be about. Before anything, I'll go through my weekly kind of life update that I do. So first and foremost, podcast update. I'm thinking of starting a kind of new tradition where the first week of every month, so the first Wednesday of every month, I'm going to do a Q&A episode. So I'm probably going to put the question box up on Instagram on the Sunday. And then let the questions come through. And then on the Wednesday, I'll be answering all of your questions. That just means that, you guys kind of get to stay up to date with questions that you want to ask me. So every month I'm going to have an episode dedicated to a Q&A session, and it's just going to be me answering your questions. So that is an idea I thought of about a week ago now when I did the last podcast episode, and I thought, you know what, that would be a great idea. What else? Oh, yes. So you've probably seen on my story or on my Facebook that I'm going to be teaching agility at the Field of Dreams in 2025. Now, this is huge for me because it is a way into, teaching essentially. As I get my own independent business up and running, this is going to allow me to gain experience, earn some money, hopefully, probably start off 1 or 2 sessions a week. 1 or 2 days a week, and then hopefully progress to 3 or 4. And hopefully this also means that once that is happening, I can quit my job that I'm currently doing now online from home, because I'm just ready to start doing what I really want to do now. So that is so exciting. Obviously just waiting for my foot to heal. Obviously I don't want to start doing more on it like that until after Olympia, but that is so exciting. So we're getting that advertised, getting that prepped and planned for the beginning of the new year. We've got 2 months to go, so that is so exciting. If you are anywhere near Field of Dreams and are interested in group classes, one-to-ones, all levels with me, it is DN21 is the postcode, and get in touch and let me know, and I would love to see you over there when I start teaching. So that is super exciting. Another thing that happened this week is the Team GB debrief was had. So I managed to get a lift to that. It was, what was it? I can't remember what it was, like a long time away. I think it was nearly 3 hours in the end. But you know what? It's worth it. These things are important. I think, when basically being on the team is huge, and a privilege and a huge opportunity. And I just wanted to I just want to be a part of everything that goes on with the team. So we went to the Team GB debrief and had the meeting with the management and the rest of the team. I say rest of the team, not everyone went, but it was nice to get back together with some of the team members and just debrief the year. There was an AWC one, and then obviously I was in the general one that included EO as well. And we just went through, selection processes and how the championships went and all sorts of things. So that was cool. And it's just got me starting to really think about, getting on the team again next year, trying out to get on the team again next year. We like to think positive here, and in future years, obviously. But so full steam ahead. Once the foot's healed, full steam ahead for tryouts next year, and hopefully we'll get to relive the great GB experiences we've had this year. So that's pretty much been my week. Trying to think of anything else. Nope, that is pretty much it. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. So the 5 excuses. So excuse 1 is that my dog was distracted by X. So X could be a variety of things. It could be a dog outside the ring, for example, a burger van, so the smell of it, a spectator, so someone stood watching outside of the ring, a smell in the ring. A lot of people will say, oh, my dog caught a smell in that corner of the ring or something. And then also one that I've heard before is the judge's proximity, position or movement. The dog kind of noticing the judge or getting distracted or intimidated by the judge. So, and again, disclaimer, some of these excuses are totally valid and they can fully be the reason why, something goes wrong in your run. But often that is one of those things. And you've got to remember that pretty much it's the same for everyone you're competing against. So in general, it is pretty fair. You've always got those things where it's just going against you for that day and that's just part of the sport. You'll then get the days where it goes in your favour. That's just the balance of life. But the solution to this excuse is to generalise your dog's behaviours. So obviously in agility, the more venues you can go to, the more training venues, the more competition venues and stuff that you can go to, the better. The more generalised your dog's ability to do agility is, and the more likely they are to perform consistently, no matter what venue they're at, and no matter what is happening around them, because they'll be used to doing the same things in lots of different scenarios. Train at different venues for a start is always great. There's plenty of venues to hire these days. I say plenty, I can think of a few, but they're pretty much accessible for everyone. And then also set up dummy distractions at training. So for me, this is something that I think people don't really think of is, say your dog has a problem with getting distracted by the judge in competition, for example. Simple as get your trainer or someone else in the class or whoever's taking you, etc. Get them to reenact the judge. And if anything, be a bit more of an obvious judge, make more obvious movements, be a bit close to the dog, maybe do some running, jumping, etc. And then, you can have obviously the other people in your class stood around at different points of the setup at training. And obviously, maybe get them to hold their dogs there as well so that your dog has to work through all of these distractions. And I think that is a great way to generalise your dog's agility. So excuse number 2 is that it's too hot, cold, windy or wet. So a weather-based excuse. And again, sometimes these can be valid, but, again, often, same for everyone, not a lot you can do. It's just life, it's just the UK, not even the UK, just life, the world. Weather happens. So, for example, if it's hot, the excuse would be, my dog was too tired because of the heat. Cold, dog's muscles weren't warm enough. Windy, the dog couldn't hear me over the wind. That's quite a common one I've heard. And then rainy, dog couldn't get their footing because it's slippy. And that can be totally fair. But possible solutions for that excuse is to simply accept it as something that either affects everyone you're competing against, therefore it is fair, and it is also, remember, your choice to compete or not, run or not in these weather conditions, depending on your own, I don't want to say standards, what you are happy or not happy to run in, and, your dog, what your dog is or isn't happy or safe to run in. So it is that is kind of the same principle for everyone. Either that or just accept it, like I said, as one of those things. The law of averages states that you literally win some and you lose some. Like, that's just, you win some, you lose some, popular saying. You can also invest in cooling products if it's too cold. If it's too hot. So, you can get fans, cool coats, cool mats, those towels that are cool that you can drape over your dog, keep your dog in the shade, lots of water, maybe some goat's milk or whatever people give their dogs that don't like to drink water to make sure they stay hydrated. Better Dog, that's another one. And then obviously when it's cold, create and execute a warm-up routine and put your dog in a thermal coat. So have your dog in a nice warm coat throughout the day and make sure you are doing a warm-up routine so that your dog's muscles are warm by the time you actually run. And then, windy and rainy, that is kind of just how it is. Windy, that's why I like to shout loud in the ring. I've had people say, oh, Summer, you shout so loud, you're so loud in the ring. Yeah, because then Arrow can hear me, can't he? And it works. So again, there's not tons you can do about that, except just be a bit louder and clearer with your verbals if you can. Rainy, yes, obviously that can be a safety issue as well, and there's nothing, you can't stop your dog from slipping. If you want to run your dog in the rain, that's there's a high chance of your dog not being able to get their footing sometimes. So again, just accept it or don't run it. Totally up to you, but it's generally the same for everyone in that class. So yeah, that is excuse number 2. Excuse number 3 is that it's the end of the day and my dog is tired. Or I am tired, my dog is tired. So the solution to that is, again, accept that this is generally the same for everyone you're competing against. If you've got a class right at the end of the day, the chances are, unless someone's come just for that end of the day class, that everyone else has also been here since 8:30 in the morning or earlier, and they are tired after a long day of competing, and it's probably also their last run. So, something you can do is work on both yours and your dog's stamina outside of agility through things like strength and conditioning exercises and long walks and runs and stuff like that. So there is things you can do to kind of hopefully increase your stamina in general, so that when you do get to the point where you're already a bit fatigued, you've been doing a lot of exertion throughout the day, you've just got that little extra to give by the end of the day. But again, it's just kind of how it works, isn't it? Like, there's a last run, there's an end of the day run. That is quite common. I don't know if you can hear Arrow and Ethel barking right now. I think there's someone at my door. So excuse 4 is that my dog hates this surface. So now we're talking about, your different venues. You've got your grass, sand, astro, etc. So again, same for everyone. Who you're competing against at that venue, the surface is the same. And every dog has their preferences. Say it's you and another competitor on a sand arena competing against each other one day. Maybe their dog's better on sand and yours isn't. Yes, so they have the advantage. But then a weekend later, maybe you're competing at an astro venue and it's the other way round. Your dog prefers astro and their dog doesn't, so you have the advantage. So again, it generally evens out. So the solution is literally to train on every surface you can. So grass, sand and astro, enter shows at different venues that have different surfaces. So obviously you've got Iconics at Dallas Burston is a popular sand venue in the UK. Astro, obviously you've got Dog Sports Derby, and then grass, pretty much every show throughout the summer, not gonna lie, that's pretty easy. And then this is an important one, so train on your dog's least favourite surface more regularly than the others if you can. Again, it's about doing the things that we know are hard and that we have to improve on more than the things that just feel good because we're already good at, and I'll come on to that a little bit more in excuse 5. Another thing you can do is to trim your dog's feet if they slip on AstroTurf. So Arrow does slip and slide on AstroTurf. So the solution to that, instead of every time we go on AstroTurf saying, oh, he did bad in that run because he kept slipping and couldn't get his footing because it's AstroTurf, I trim the hair on his pads before I compete on Astro. Well, I do it regularly anyway, but especially just before we compete on Astro, so that he has a better grip, and that does make a noticeable difference. So I don't have to make that excuse anymore because I know he has trimmed pads, so that'll reduce his slipping. So, finally then, excuse 5 is that I barely train that skill or setup. I'd say this is quite a big one, and I've said this before where I've come out of even walking a course before I've even ran it and said, oh, I've barely even trained that, that's not going to go right, or, it goes wrong and you come out saying that's because I barely train it or my dog's rarely seen that skill or setup. The solution is literally to train those things. So train your weaknesses instead of what feels good. So again, something that came up at the GB debrief that I went to was a handler's willingness to train what is hard and not what feels good. And I put a little thing about this on my story the other day. So for me, this is super important and something that I'm constantly trying to work on myself, because it's way too easy to repeat what we're good at because it's fun and it feels good and it gives us that feel good, that good feeling, and makes us feel confident and boosts our ego a little bit. And let's be honest, one of the best things, one of the best feelings is to run a course and get it spot on, and it's just one of those magic feeling runs, which it probably won't happen to start with if you're training your weaknesses, but the goal is that it will eventually, and the only way to get there is to do the hard things now and fail now so that you can get better over time. And, yes, we want to repeat what we're good at to enjoy it, but what is that actually achieving in the long run? Ask yourself that, and the answer is nothing. If you're not challenging yourself, you're not going to get better and grow, if that makes sense. So again, that's pretty self-explanatory. Another thing you can do is attend workshops or one-to-ones with trainers who specialise in your weaknesses. So, for example, if you want to work on distance handling or layering, for example, then go to a trainer who specialises in this. So at one point, I really wanted to boost my distance handling skills with Arrow. So I went to a training day with Shannon Springford because she is an absolute queen at that. And she kind of taught us in that way, if that makes sense. So yeah, kind of pick your trainers, and just don't be afraid to target the weaknesses. And, yes, I get it can be a little bit scary or intimidating to think I'm really crap at this right now, so I'm going to go to a training day with lots of other people and this really good trainer to work on those weaknesses, and everyone's going to watch me struggle, blah, blah, blah. But no, stop yourself there. It's admirable that you're working on your weaknesses, and then some months down the line, even a year down the line, when you're fabulous at that, that hard work will have proven itself to both you and those people that you maybe didn't want to be looked at by as you were struggling, if that makes sense. So yeah, you've just got to kind of take a deep breath, suck it up, and get on with the hard things to reap the rewards in the end. And then again, if you don't have adequate space or equipment at home, hire those venues to train your weakest setups. So, if you've got a weak skill, yes, you can train it at home in a small space, like little jump skills, maybe just the weaves, just the seesaw, etc. I do that in my garden. I don't have tons of space, but I can train skills with the space I have. But what I can't train regularly from home every day or so is course running and implementing those skills into a course while Arrow is running full pelt and on an absolute high. So for this is where I need to be hiring venues. And obviously I have my weekly classes with Lucy where, we do course running. But, if I want to do it outside of that, I need to go and hire those venues, take it upon myself to set these courses at these venues, or at least set the skills in a general course that I want to work on, so that you can train your weakest setups properly at full speed as if you were in competition. So it's about being proactive. Everything is about being proactive. So, making excuses is, in my opinion, the opposite of being proactive. It's sitting on your laurels and accepting the fact that that's just too hard, or that's just went against you, or it's just unfair. Whereas really there are lots of ways, as I've given you today, that you can be proactive and sort out your issues, really. And that's it. That is the episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. Short but sweet. I quite like my short but sweet episodes, especially when they're solo. However, talking of solo episodes, I do have a very exciting guest coming up. I have a podcast episode recording scheduled for a week tomorrow with Greg Derritt. So Greg, as you probably all know, is the manager of Team GB. He organises WAO and all the things. Like I said, he's at the very tip top of agility. He's been in it for years and years and years. I think he's been in it for 24 years or more. No, I think he's been involved in Team GB for 24 years, I think, probably in agility even longer, so that's crazy. But I did ask you guys to ask him questions, and I've got a long list of questions for him, so we will be recording that next week, and that episode will be up on the 13th, so Wednesday the 13th of November at 8 p.m. Greg's podcast episode will be up, so I know you guys will love that. I'm really excited for it. And next week, the 6th of November at 8 p.m. will be the first monthly Q&A. So on Sunday, which is this Sunday on the 3rd, I will put up a question box asking you guys to ask me questions, and then on the Wednesday that follows, first Wednesday of the month, I will be doing a Q&A session and answering all your questions. So feel free, or not feel free, please do react to that question box and ask me anything you want to know, whether that is advice with agility, dogs in general, fitness, nutrition, handler fitness, nutrition, dog fitness, nutrition, general training, agility, me, anything about me in my life, anything, absolutely anything, being, delving into the world of being a trainer, aspiring to be a full-time trainer, anything you want to know from me, about me, that is what the Q&A is for. But without further ado, I will let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, even though it's literally bedtime when this comes out, or whatever day you're listening. Don't forget to give Don't forget to give the podcast a rating or review, ideally 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That would mean the world to me. Thank you so much, guys. And also remember to follow me on all of the social media platforms, especially Instagram. I'm active on there pretty much every day, and I'm trying to get better with TikTok again. I have little phases of making TikTok videos and then I forget it exists, but I'm trying again. Every now and again, one will pop up. But yeah, at Pause in Pursuit on all of those, and I will see you guys over there. Look out for the question box for the Q&A on Sunday. And that is it from me this week, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and I will speak to you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.